Hello and welcome to this edition of Eat Right with Rouses. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside. Thank you so much for joining us as we welcome in our favorite dietitian, April Sens. April, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Keith. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. I love the idea that we all have those things that is kind of our go-to, right? We have our staples of things that we like. I like the fact that we can have those go-tos be a little bit healthier. Show us a few options to do that today.
Absolutely, yes. So we're still talking about Heart Month because all month long for February is Heart Month. And so I thought this would be great of what can you keep in your pantry as a staple item for a heart healthy option. And so before I go through all the options, I have a couple of tips because whenever you're shopping, sometimes it can be like, okay, which one do I choose? And these are actually some tips from the American Heart Association website, heart.org. So you can always go there to find out more information. But one thing you want to look at is you want to look at those food labels. So what to look for, you want to look for items with the lower amounts of sodium in it. You want to look for lower saturated fats and also lower amounts of added sugars. So those are going to be important things to look at whenever you're looking for something like that. But there is also a heart check that you can look for on some items in the store that'll have the American Heart Association heart check on it as well. Also, you want to look at your ingredients. So sometimes you might see something in the ingredients that doesn't necessarily say sugar, but it might say like high fructose corn syrup or something like that. Well, you have to remember that, you know, sugar comes in different names. Not that all sugars are bad or anything like that, but whenever you're watching how much you're putting of different items inside of your basket, you want to look for a balanced amount. So you don't want to overdo it on the sugary things and, look for the sodium content as well. So make sure you're looking at the ingredients as well. And also remember that your ingredients are listed from the heaviest by weight in the product first, and then it goes down in weight as you go along. So the thing that is first is going to be the most on the ingredient label. And then also you can look at choosing some frozen, some canned, or dried produce if you can't find what you're looking for in the fresh, or if you were looking for something to kind of hold on to for a little bit longer. You didn't want to buy it fresh, you just wanted to have it in stock in your freezer or your refrigerator. You can always look for that as well. But whenever you're looking at your canned goods, you want to look at some things that are either, if it's fruits, you want to look for either canned and 100% juice or a light syrup. And if you're looking at your vegetables, you want to look at some that might say either light or no added salt in it as well. And then whole grain foods is another option too. So I'm going to show you some examples of all these different options that we have at Rouse's. And I just picked a few. This is by no means a comprehensive list right here.
It's not the whole list. There's lots.
There are tons.
Right.
So let me just show you a couple of options, though, in some different categories. Okay. So one thing is, a lot of people say, how do I season my food without adding a lot of salt? Well, if you want to get a blended seasoning blend, we have something at Rouse's called the Cook Shop that has a very low amount of sodium in it as well. And then you can also look for seasonings with no salt. There's also a Tony Chachere's no salt as well. There's also some local companies that make some different seasonings with low in sodium, but also you could buy your Rouse's seasonings and just make your own flavor combinations with no added salt. Another thing too is look for your no added salt canned good. And in the Rouse's brand, in the Rouse's label, you could find some that are no added salt. Right here, I have some mixed vegetables. One of my favorite things to get is the diced tomatoes with no salt added, because that I add it into so many dishes, and it's nice to know that I'm not adding sodium on top of that. And then another thing is I have some peas right here too. So those are just a few examples of some no added salt in the Rouse's label. Some heart healthy oils. I always talk about our Rouse's olive oil. Of course, that is one of my go-to oils. And then another one too that that you might have tried, or if you haven't yet, you should definitely try out some avocado oil.
Ooh.
So that's another heart healthy oil as well. And then whole grains. So I was just kind of mentioning whole grains. In whole grains, the whole grains have more of the whole grain. Okay, so they're less stripped of the nutrients. And an example is this Dave's Killer bread bagels or the bread. It has 26 whole grains in each bagel, which is nice to know. Now, what's great about that is that it also is a source of fiber. Okay, and fiber is very nutritious for us. And then another thing that's a whole grain is quinoa. And I love this because makes it easy. A lot of people say, how do I cook quinoa? Well, you can find this in where you would find like the instant rice section at Rouse's.
Right.
This is just a heat and serve, or you can eat it cold. And then also some nuts. Don't forget about nuts. And this is a new nut that we have. It's called Daily Crunch. It's a sprouted almond nut as well.
Ooh.
And then one more thing, Keith, is some Heart Smart sauce, which I think is really nice. So they've kept the sodium amount lower. They've kept the fat lower. It's very delicious sauce, but it does have that Heart Smart on it. And so it makes such a great combination, along with the Banza pasta, which is high in protein and high in fiber as well, made from chickpeas.
Wow, some really great recommendations there. In fact, there's a lot of those things that are at my house and in my refrigerator. But I'm interested we always like to try out different nuts. We like to try out different flavored nuts as well. So I'm looking forward to trying those sprouted almonds. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because it's a great source of protein. You don't get very many fats from it, but it's healthier fats. And so it's really good in your almonds. So some awesome recommendations, and thanks for that, as always, April. Have a great day. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much, Keith. Have a great day.
All right. And that will do it for this particular segment of Eat Right with Rouse's. But don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.